Greetings parents and students. Thank you so much for watching this video. I found that it's really good use of my time to make this video because this is a big project. It's our first big project of the year, and I have 21 students and they're all going to pick a different explorer. And so, to be quite honest, the students are going to need to work from home a decent amount, and they might need some parent support, especially with maybe making their own costumes or just maybe getting a trip to the library, things like that. So it's good for you to know my expectations. So let me explain. This is our first big project, and it's due on Wednesday, November 17th. That's when students are going to present to the class. And the Living Museum, which is a really fun event, is going to be on Friday, November 19th. And basically, every 5th grade student is going to be a different explorer. Actually, everyone in my class will be a different explorer. There might be some repeats, but all the 5th graders are going to dress up as an explorer. They're going to dress up in a costume, and they're going to present as if they were that explorer. It's a really fun project. Let me go over my expectations, and then I'll give some advice and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Okay? So this project is worth 100 points. And of those 100 points, 10 of them are for a container. Now this is possibly the part that kids tend to forget the most about, but 10 out of 100 is still 10% of a grade. Basically, the students are going to pretend to be an explorer, and they're going to pack a container with some artifacts that they may have brought with them on their voyage, on their expedition. And the container should be something that relates to the explorer. So for example, instead of just throwing it in a shoebox, maybe they would decorate the shoebox with something that would relate to the explorer. Or they could construct something that might have to do with the explorer. You want to just take pride in it and have it be creative and unique and relate to your explorer. 15 out of those 100 points are for what the artifacts that are contained in the container. So all of the artifacts need to be handmade and in color. One of those artifacts that needs it, so there's between 4, 5, 6, some kids even put 7 artifacts. One of the artifacts has to be a handmade map that shows the route that the explorer took. So we don't want it just to print off Google. That's not really showing a lot of thinking. So we have the kids draw a map, and then they're going to trace the route that they took. They're also going to have a drawing of their explorer, a drawing or a 3D recreation of the mode of transportation, and an additional artifact or two. So for example, if I found spices in Asia, I would probably have pretend spices as an artifact. If I found gold, if I was Hernan Cortez and I found gold, I would have some pretend gold. What's great about these artifacts is when they present, the students can point to the map and say, I traveled from Portugal and I went around Africa. They can really refer to their maps. They can say, then I found spices, and so it's really more of an interactive presentation. So 25 points, 10 is for the container and 15 are for the artifacts. They should be handmade, colorful, and it's obvious that effort was put into it. There's still a lot of points left. 25 more points is for a journal. This is a big deal for 5th graders. The journal is where the students are writing as if they were the explorer that they've been researching. So it's obvious that they did a lot of research. They're going to have 5 journal entries as if they were the explorer, describing where they are, what they're doing. One of the most important things in their journal is they have to include their explorer's impact. What was their impact? So for example, I'm going to pretend to be Pedro Cabral. He was a Portuguese explorer. He had a goal to go around Africa to set up a trade route with Asia for the spices. Well, the winds were blowing really strong, and it blew him too far west, and he bumped into actually Brazil. It wasn't called Brazil at the time. Pedro Cabral discovered Brazil, claimed it for Portugal. Today, in Brazil, people speak Portuguese. That was Pedro Cabral's that was one of his big impacts. So every explorer has some sort of impact, positive or negative. So you have to include that in your journal. So they have to have at least 5 journal entries. That's worth 25% of their grade. Another 25% of the grade is the presentation. I expect the students to speak with a loud and clear voice, to use those artifacts, and really have a nice organized presentation. And really, I'm looking for the kids again to at the Living Museum to be dressed up and to have the persona of the explorer during the when they present to the class on the 17th. They don't have to wear their costume. And finally, believe it or not, 25% of the grade is their research. Did they take really good notes? So I'm going to give the kids tons of these research sheets to fill up their project folder. And I'm expecting that students don't just find one source, that they use multiple sources. I'd like them to have at least one of them be a book source. I'd like them to have multiple online sources, maybe from a video as well. I want them to get as much research as possible to really learn a ton about their explorer. Now, I thought it would be helpful for you to see some guiding questions. I don't really care a ton about the explorer's background as far as their childhood, about their siblings' names. That stuff is not important. The reason these explorers are famous, the reason your child is studying the explorer, is because they made an impact of some kind because of their exploration. The world changed because of their exploration. So the guiding questions that I want your child to look for in their research is, where did he or she go? What was the route that your explorer took? Did he or she go around the tip of Africa? Did he or she go on a land route this way? Maybe Captain James Cook, for example, had a bunch of different routes. He claimed he had a lot of exploration. So you want to make sure you say all the different routes that your explorer took. So where did he or she go? That's a big research piece. Another one is, why did they go there? What was their motivation? Were they motivated to find a faster route? Were they trying to find that Northwest Passage? Maybe they were trying to find gold. Maybe they were trying to spread Christianity. Maybe they were trying to claim lands for their sponsored country. Why? And who sponsored them? Christopher Columbus claimed land for Spain, but he's not Spanish. He's Italian. The country of Spain sponsored him. So anything that any land that Columbus claimed would be claimed for Spain because Spain sponsored him. So why did they explore and who was their sponsor if they were sponsored by someone? And then the biggest thing is, what was your explorer's impact, positive and or negative? Some of the explorers had a really negative impact. They maybe killed a lot of Native Americans. Maybe they gave a lot of Native Americans smallpox. So that's an impact. Not all impacts are positive. Keep that in mind. Okay? So that's 100 points. And I would recommend that this week and next week, students do a lot of research. They should have their project folder coming back and forth every night. And they should, for their 20 minutes of reading, I'm okay if their 20 minutes of reading is 20 minutes of reading for the project, doing research for 20 minutes every night. That's fine with me. So students should, but truly they should be doing research on their explorer. Excuse me. So this week and next week they should be researching. Next week, I think, the week of the 30th, that's when they should probably start their journals. You can't wait. You can't do that last minute. And then the week after that, the week of the 6th, they should be finishing up their journals, working on their artifacts in their container. And the week of the 13th, that's when it's due. They should pretty much have all this stuff done, and they should really be mastering their presentation. So at some point, you probably want to talk with the child, and the parents need to team up and kind of come up with an idea for a costume. I really don't want you spending a lot of money on this. That's not my goal. Handmade, homemade is always my favorite. It shows creativity. If your explorer had a beard, you can think about how you could put a little makeup on, or another way to have a beard. There's a lot of ways that you could dress up as your explorer. If you want, I could even send a link of last year's explorers, the Explorer project from last year, to give you some ideas. But don't spend a lot of money, please. That's not my intent. So again, the project is due on the 17th. That's a Wednesday. They'll present to the class. On Friday is the Living Museum. They're all dressed up as their explorer, coming to life and describing where did they go, why did they go, what was their impact. In the afternoon, I've got 3 green screens. We're going to have a lot of fun dressing up. We're already dressed up as the explorer. We can have a lot of fun with those green screens, taking really cool photos as the explorer back in history. So I have a lot of really fun things planned for the kids on that day. And please let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'm going to be working with the kids at school, but they're probably going to need a little bit of support at home. Thank you so much for watching, for supporting me and supporting your child. Hopefully we'll see you on Friday the 19th at the Living Museum. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much.